Ladies and gentlemen, in Zimbabwe, the opposition is once again sharpening its knives, this time not against each other for a change, but against ZANU-PF's magical attempt to stretch the presidency like a chewing gum all the way to 2030. The National Progressive Democrats, led by Togare Fambi, has declared Mnangagwa's so-called 2030 vision as unconstitutional, unnecessary, and utterly unfunny. The party says it will stop the plot dead in its tracks before Zimbabwe wakes up one morning to find that Vision 2030 actually means President 2030. Fambi boldly told journalists that Zimbabweans will not be held hostage by a few individuals, which, coming from the opposition, is the political equivalent of shouting at a bulldozer while holding a teaspoon. But the point remains, the plot has divided even the ruling party, with factions emerging, one backing the president's extended stay and another quietly sharpening its spears behind Chiyangwa. Meanwhile, the International Monetary Fund is watching all this from a safe distance, clutching its clipboard and whispering, "Good luck with that, ZiG." In its latest report, the IMF politely urged Zimbabwe to clarify its plan to phase out the US dollar by 2030. Translation: please explain how this fantasy will work, because so far, even the ZiG itself doesn't believe in the ZiG. The fund warned that the local currency is about as rare as rain in October. Most citizens have never seen it, and those who have treat it like a museum exhibit. Inflation has cooled, yes, but confidence hasn't. The IMF cautioned that unless Zimbabwe restores trust and fiscal discipline, the dream of a monocurrency economy will remain just that, a dream, scribbled on an Arabized whiteboard. Elsewhere, in Harare, police found themselves in the crosshairs of public outrage after a combi driver died in a horrific crash, and social media detectives instantly decided it was the cop's fault. The Zimbabwe Republic Police has since denied any involvement, insisting that no high-speed chase occurred and warning citizens against spreading falsehoods. As always, the internet had already passed judgment before the statement dropped, proving that in Zimbabwe, social media breaks stories and sometimes breaks the truth too.
Starting a business can be exciting. But if you've ever tried registering a company or opening a bank account in South Africa, you know the process can feel overwhelming. Between paperwork, government requirements, and bank regulations, it's easy to get lost in the maze. That's where NetBrowse Media Business Services Division steps in. We make the process simple, affordable, and stress-free. Whether you're a local entrepreneur or a non-resident looking to expand your footprint into South Africa, we've designed our services to get you up and running without delays. NetBrowse Media Business Services Division is now offering professional assistance to help you set up quickly and legally. Company registrations, non-resident FNB bank accounts, affordable packages starting from just 450 rands, flexible payments, pay in ZiG, rands, US dollars, kwacha, or shillings. Virtual office services. South African landline number which you can answer from anywhere in the world. Why struggle with complex paperwork and long queues when you can let professionals handle everything for you? Contact us today and let's get your business started the smart way. NetBrowse Media, we've got you covered.
Still on home soil, Zimbabwe is celebrating a rare diplomatic win. Harare has reportedly secured the backing of 134 countries for its campaign to grab a non-permanent seat on the United Nations Security Council. That's 6 votes more than it needs to win. Meanwhile, for once, the math is actually in our favor. Foreign Affairs Minister Amon Murwira says Zimbabwe is ready to advance Pan-African values and push for global peace, human rights, and the reform of the UN system. Translation: we are about to sit at the big table again, and this time we brought our own chair. And while the diplomats are toasting in New York, a miracle has quietly unfolded back home in Chitungwiza. The local hospital has pulled off its first ever brain tumor surgery, a groundbreaking achievement led by Dr. Brighton Nyamapfene and his team. The operation on an 11-year-old girl lasted nearly 6 hours and ended successfully. Until now, such surgeries were the exclusive domain of Parerenyatwa or expensive foreign hospitals, but this breakthrough means Zimbabwean public health is finally flexing its own brain power. The doctors say this marks the start of more complex operations to be done locally, and honestly, this is the kind of headline surgery Zimbabweans have been waiting for, cutting out dysfunction, not just tumors. If only the hospitals could get the support they need from the government. In business and energy, global corporations are suddenly flirting with Zimbabwe again, this time in the power sector. Energy Minister July Moyo says the US and other Western countries are joining the race alongside Chinese, Russian and Middle Eastern investors to tap into Zimbabwe's coal, gas and renewable potential. After 2 decades of being ghosted by international financiers, Harare is finally getting a few calls back. Perhaps because everyone now realizes Zimbabwe has both the minerals and the desperation to make deals. The government is aiming to raise $9 billion to fix the country's blackout addiction, and if all goes well, we may soon have more electricity than excuses. But not everyone glows. Police in Ruwa have arrested one suspect in the gruesome murder of businessman Joseph Mnangagwa, who was shot in August by a gang of armed robbers at his home and leisure spot. The suspect, Philip Mutasa, allegedly confessed and named 7 accomplices who are still on the run. It's a grim reminder that while the economy battles inflation, crime has already adjusted its own exchange rate to match. However, it is still not clear whether he has named the mastermind of the operation. In lighter but no less dramatic news, Prophet Passion Java has once again proved that talking big costs nothing. The self-proclaimed preacher crashed Baba Harare's live radio interview to flex his celebrity power and was promptly challenged to buy the singer's new album for $5,000. Java's response? A masterclass in dodging. He offered vague promises to donate and buy tickets instead. Baba Harare later roasted him online, saying the prophet couldn't afford soap for his jacket, let alone $5,000. Zimbabweans loved it because in this economy, comedy is the only thing still affordable. In court circles, Philip Chiyangwa's son has been granted $300 bail after being found with a single gram of dagga worth a modest $10. Yes, you heard that right. A $10 case in 2025. It's unclear whether the police spent more money on fuel than the drugs were worth. But the law is the law, and the magistrate wasn't amused. In international news, Malawi's political stage turned full circle as 85-year-old Peter Mutharika was sworn in for a second term, vowing to clean up corruption and fix the economy. Mutharika, who once lost to Lazarus Chakwera, has now defeated him again, proving that in African politics, retirement is just a word found in other countries. The veteran leader says he is inheriting a bankrupt government and promised tough and painful decisions, usually called for new taxes and old speeches. Meanwhile, in the Middle East, Israel's bombardment of Gaza continues despite President Donald Trump's direct call to halt the strikes under his ambitious 20-point Gaza peace plan. Over 70 Palestinians were killed in just one day, including children, even as Trump insists a ceasefire deal is within reach. President Trump says his envoys Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff will meet both Hamas and Israel negotiators in Egypt to finalize hostage releases and a withdrawal timeline. But as bombs fall on supposed safe zones, one wonders whether peace talks can outpace airstrikes. And finally, a rare smile for Zimbabweans. The Chevrons have done it again. Our national cricket team has been crowned ICC T20 World Cup Africa qualifier champions after thrashing Namibia by 7 wickets. Tadiwanashe Marumani led the charge with a classy 68, supported by Dion Myers, steady 44, sealing a sweet victory that sends Zimbabwe back to the global stage. For once, we are winning without slogans, rallies or hashtags, just runs, grit and pride. Elsewhere, Liverpool's luck has run out in spectacular fashion. After a season of living dangerously and relying on last-minute goals, the Reds have now been beaten by their own tactics, losing 2 games in a row with stoppage time heartbreakers. Manager Ian Slot insists it's just fine margins, but with 10 late goals already deciding Liverpool's fate this season, even fans are starting to wonder whether "you will never walk alone" should be changed to "you will never score on time." And that's the pulse of the week. From Chitungwiza's surgical miracle to Mnangagwa's political myth, and from IMF side eyes to Baba Harare's lyrical revenge, Zimbabwe remains a nation that never runs out of drama, even when it runs out of cash. Subscribe to ZIMWAVES TV, where the truth has attitude, the headlines have rhythm, and every story has a punchline worth remembering.